Hi there, welcome back to Beyond the 529. When it comes to paying for college, there are many different resources that you can use. And coordinating those resources is one of the keys to lowering your cost of college. In this video, I'm going to cover 3 key decisions that you're going to need to make when using your 529 plan to ensure that you don't run into any tax issues and that you don't have any delays when using that money to pay for things like tuition and room and board. I'm Mike Bink, founder and president of Equivest Financial Advisors. I've helped hundreds of families throughout the country develop strategies to win the game of paying for college. I can help your student pick the right schools to get as much free money as possible, maximize your family's finances to get more financial aid and scholarships, minimize your student loan debt by picking the right student loans, and pay for college as efficiently as possible to lower your costs by thousands of dollars, all while protecting your family's retirement. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you develop a plan to implement strategies like this, please click the link in the description below to learn how you can become our client. So now that you're done with graduation, you've evaluated your financial aid packages, and you and your student have decided where they're going to go starting in the fall, it's time to figure out how we're going to pay for it as efficiently as possible so we can stretch all of those dollars you've saved as far as they can possibly go. One of those key pieces of the puzzle is your 529 plan. So let's talk about what it looks like to make those withdrawals now. So decision number 1 when it comes to taking 529 distributions is who you're going to send that distribution to. Generally, 529 plans are going to let you decide how you want your funds to be distributed. And most of them are going to offer some kind of online service tool or website where you can go in and simply select where you want the distribution to go. Usually there are 3 primary options for where you're going to send a distribution. Number 1, the account owner, which is usually the parents, but can also be grandparents or potentially other family members like aunts and uncles. Option number 2 is the beneficiary, which is almost always going to be the student themselves. And then option number 3 is you can send that distribution directly to the school or university. A few plans will let you make a payment to a third party, such as a landlord or an off-campus apartment, but you want to make sure that you check with the specific 529 plan that you're a member of and that you've been saving in to see exactly what their rules and guidelines are. It's also critical to remember that you want to use the distributions that you take out of a 529 plan for qualified educational expenses. If you don't do that, you can run into some serious tax issues. So to keep it simple, you want to make sure to send that distribution somewhere that's approved as a qualified educational expense. Otherwise, you're going to get into a real complex situation from a tax standpoint that could otherwise be avoided. Once you've decided who you're going to pay, decision number 2 is how you're going to pay. And there you have 2 primary options. Option number 1 is going to be to set up an electronic transfer to your bank account. From there, all you need to do is to make sure to use those funds for, again, qualified educational expenses. Option number 2 is to get a physical check printed and mailed to you where you can then use those funds for expenses that you have. So one key issue you want to make sure to avoid are last-minute changes to your account that can delay your withdrawals. For example, if you make a request to change your address, it may put a temporary hold on your 529 account due to fraud prevention measures that most 529 plans have. That can cause huge issues if you need the money quickly to pay your bill, especially if that bill has to be paid before your student can register for any of their classes. So you want to be very mindful of making any of those changes late in the game when you're going to be making distributions. If you've ever made withdrawals from a 529 plan for paying for high school or college education, I want you to tell us how your experience went in the comments section below. The third and final decision for distributions from a 529 account are when you want to take those. And there again, you have a couple different options. Option number 1 is to wait until that tuition bill is actually due. Now in the fall, that's generally going to be July or August. For the spring semester, the spring tuition, that's usually going to be more like December or January when you've got to pay that. Option number 2, on the other hand, is to plan in advance for what those tuition bills are going to be. And make sure you take your distribution well in advance of that payment or that bill coming due, so that way you're prepared and you don't run into any of the other issues that I mentioned earlier. You just want to make absolutely sure that any withdrawals that you take from a 529 plan are taken in the same year that you plan to use those funds to pay for qualified educational expenses. If you don't do that, you could end up with a pretty hefty tax bill that could have otherwise been avoided. If you like this video, please make sure to check out my other video, 5 tips for choosing a 529 plan, where I cover key characteristics of a 529 and what you need to understand to pick the right one for your family. I hope you found this video helpful to figure out how to go about making withdrawals from your 529 plan to pay for your students' tuition bills. If you found this information to be valuable, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel by clicking the buttons that you see on your screen below. And if you're interested in learning more about how we can help you develop a plan to save thousands on your students' education and pay for college as efficiently as possible, please make sure to click the link in the description below. Thank you and good luck going beyond the 529.